Life isn't fair. How many times have you given everything you had just to get where you wanted? Whether it was to pass a class, get a job, or win over the girl of your dreams. And in the end, it wasn't enough. It didn't matter how hard you worked, how dedicated or passionate you were, you fell short. Not because you didn't deserve it, but because sometimes the world just doesn't play along. I've felt that way many times, even here on YouTube. For example, to get this video done, I had to sacrifice a day off I could have spent soaking up the sun, and realistically, this video won't get more than 3,000 views. It is what it is. Maturity is choosing the battles you enjoy fighting, regardless of whether the final outcome goes your way. And that's why today, I want to talk about players in the Portuguese league who, in their own way, fought that same fight. Men who had talent, consistency, work ethic, all the things that usually should be enough to take the next step. But for one reason or another, they never did. Not because they weren't good, it just never happened. This is a video about the almosts, the what ifs, and what better what if to kick things off than Thiago Tjinu. Tjinu had jogo bonito in his blood. The son of a Brazilian footballer who settled in Beja, young Tjinu rose quickly through the ranks and thanks to his talent made it to the senior team at an early age. At 18, he was already playing a key role for Vtor Oliva, and despite being inconsistent and having a particular fondness for nightlife, his experiences in Turkey and Denmark helped turn that raw potential into real performance. By 2009, when he returned to Guimarães, Tjinu hit insane form. With the national team going through a generational shift, a call-up was on the table. Benfica even wanted him for the second half of the season where they'd go on to be champions. The promised land was just around the corner. But in a match against Benfica, what could have been his final game for Vitória, Tjinu tore his ACL all by himself. No brutal tackle, no dirty foul, just a bad moment on a bad patch of grass. One of football's worst injuries knocked at his door and he had to answer. From that point on, it was never the same. The following season, he lost his place in the squad and went from star player to unwanted. 6 years later, at just 30, he was done. Playing regional football in Viseu, miles away from the spotlight that once painted him as one of the brightest wingers of his generation. Tjinu had the chance in his hands, and in 1 second, it vanished. But at least people noticed him. They validated his effort. Some players are even more consistent, keep a high level for over a decade and still get nothing in return. Thiago Silva is someone who still has a shot at something bigger, but so far has been completely overlooked despite his elite performances. And it's been like that since day one. Thiago came from the same Benfica youth crop as names like Tjinu Silva or Elder Costa, but they always got more opportunities. Eventually, he was released before even reaching the senior team. Before he turned 20, he was already a key player in getting Blue Nails promoted in one of the most dominant campaigns the second tier has ever seen. In 3 Primeira Liga seasons, Thiago did more than enough to earn a move to Vitória or even Braga, but instead, out of nowhere, he joined Feirense to fight against relegation. No surprise, he balled out. But even stars can't work miracles, and in their centenary year, Feirense went down. As painful as it was, it turned out to be a blessing in disguise, as Thiago earned a move to Nottingham Forest in the Championship, and again, he crushed it. Even in a physically demanding league, he held his own, was one of the team's top players, and he only missed the promotion playoffs by a single goal. Next season, he went to Greece and became a champion, but again, never got a real chance to shine. Just 1 year after joining, he found what would become his footballing home, Vitória Sport Club. In Guimarães, Thiago Silva is a leader, a star, a cult hero, and yet, for 4 straight years, he's been systematically ignored by the big three. They keep choosing foreign names or younger, unproven players instead. André Franco, Kova, Weigl, Tanogo, Lum all got chances Thiago never did, even though none of them had shown half of what Thiago had. Every big team in Portugal would benefit from having someone like him, even just as a reliable squad player, but it looks like this will be yet another year waiting for the man who can't be moved. In life, timing is everything. Sometimes other players are simply more appealing when you're at your peak, and by the time there's less competition, your profile no longer fits the bill. But there are players that I cannot comprehend how they could possibly not get a big move. This one is clearly for the 40 and 50-year-olds watching this who probably remember Hashi Yaini. The Nigerian striker is a legendary figure in his country. When it comes to legacy, very few stand above him. He arrived in Portugal in 1990, unknown to most, but even before that, while playing in the obscure Ivorian League, he was helping Nigeria rise as a true footballing powerhouse in Africa. And in Portugal, he dominated. In 4 seasons, he scored 98 goals. He was the league's top scorer in 1994 and quite literally saved Vtor Oliva, at least temporarily, from their inevitable collapse. Internationally, he inspired a whole generation of Nigerian kids to believe they could make it. He scored Nigeria's first ever World Cup goal and was named African Footballer of the Year in 1993. And yet, he was never, ever treated like a star. The only step up he got was a move to Olympiacos, which, with all due respect, felt way too small for a man who was a national hero. Even so, Yaini never adapted to Greek life, and from there on, his career declined. In 2005, he called it a day. At 42, the spirit was willing but the body wasn't. Most players would have retired earlier, but Yaini's mind just couldn't stop. The saddest part, years later, it came out that he struggled with severe mental health issues, including bipolar disorder and depression. Maybe from loneliness, maybe from unfulfilled dreams. We'll never know because he passed away alone just 7 years after retiring at 48 years old. Okay. This got way too dark. I can't possibly leave you like that. Yes, it's frustrating to have your work go unnoticed. Sometimes it messes with your head to the point where nothing else makes sense. But honestly, the best thing we can do is make peace with it and focus on finding success in the things we can control. And I cannot think of a better example than the late great Vtor Oliva. Vtor Oliva wasn't a top-level player. He was one of those guys who got more joy from the locker room banter and post-game beers than from match-winning goals or fat paychecks. In fact, his playing career ended when Portimonense offered him the manager job instead of renewing his contract. And in that first serious experience, he took them to 7th and even won a European match. But his first major achievement came in 1991. After a solid spell at my beloved Maia, he took over Passos Ferreira in the very first edition of Portugal's second league. Despite not having one of the best squads, he not only earned promotion, he won the league. From there, Vtor would achieve 10 other promotions to the top flight across a career that spanned all these Portuguese clubs. Yes, Portuguese clubs, because Vtor never wanted to work abroad. He was a man of strong principles. Even when he had decent runs in the top flight, he always preferred fighting for promotion rather than saving a team from relegation. He never worked for any of the big 3, and despite all his success, they never looked at him seriously, always searching for a different kind of manager. But I'm sure that never bothered them. Even now, nearly 5 years after his passing, players still talk about how deeply he impacted their careers, and his biggest strength was always the way he treated people with humanity. We don't always need to reach the top to be happy or feel fulfilled. I know I'm never going to be the most famous YouTuber in Portugal, but seeing that so many people have been waiting for content like mine, hearing your ideas, reading your stories in the comments, that's enough to make that awkward kid who used to collect football cards and spend afternoons building Portuguese teams on PES for the PSP feel happy. Thanks for everything, guys. I'll see you in the next video.